Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Today is June 30th, 2026. I am looking at ONDO, ticker symbol ONDO, and I am on the Bitstamp exchange chart. Before we get started, I am an amateur trader and investor. I have a day job, so I do not have the nuance of a professional. Please keep this in mind as I'm going over this chart. However, what I like to do is I like to just go over what I'm seeing and spell it out for you. And if this helps you make a decision about Ondo or do some more research or get another second opinion, I consider my duty done. Now, the way I want to start off is I really like Ondo as a coin. It's a finance coin, decentralized finance, set up in the Cayman Islands. Uh, you know, when you hear Cayman Islands, if you watch a lot of movies, that's the place where drug traffickers place their money into banks that they normally can't place their money into. So it's kind of like a pirate. That's probably a bad thing to say. I'm gonna stop there. But it's an interesting coin, so I like it. It's known for being used to store real world asset tokens, and that's just an area that I am interested in. I do think it is the future. Uh, uh, for example, let's say you have a stock that you want to invest in, and the stock costs $1,000, and so you put let's just say you put $20. So you put $20 in the stock. The stock exchange that you're probably going to be trading that stock on is going to charge you, let's call it an interest fee. Essentially, they're going to charge you because you don't own the full stock, and they're kind of having to hold it in your place. When you tokenize the stock, you don't have those issues. Because with crypto doesn't charge you interest fees for only owning part of Bitcoin. And they don't charge you interest fees or I call it an interest fee, but they don't charge you a fee for only owning part of, let's say you invest uh, in a ticker symbol, like let's say you buy an Apple stock and you don't have enough for the full stock of Apple. Because it's tokenized, they're not going to worry about whether you own the full Apple stock. Okay? And so I think that's what's really interesting about tokenization is it has other uses like houses and things like that. But this isn't a fundamental channel. This is a charting channel. So for those Ondo lovers who are looking really forward to and having a great bull run, uh, I the reason why I mentioned that and that I'm interested in Ondo is because I've got really bad news for Ondo holders. Okay, so I'm gonna start off this way. Back in, let's see, Ondo had been ranging since February of we'll say February 3rd of 2026, and then it had a little bit of a spike. Okay, it had a pretty good size return. I mean, it went from it went up about 85%. That's very nice return. Okay. And then since then, Ondo has been going down. And you saw all the things that we like to see in a formation. You saw the 20. This is the EMA, by the way. I don't have my simple moving averages up right now. I just have the exponential moving average. But you saw that uh, the 20 passed the 50, and they both the 50 and the 20 passed the 200. That's what this red is, and the 50 is the yellow moving average. And that the 20 average moved atop, and I would say that the 50 passed significantly across the 200. However, now it's really clear that the 20 and the 50 are about to cross below the 200 again. So you had this nice little run up. And so if you're a holder of Ondo, You probably, when it started going up at this point, it was very exciting. You're up 85%. And then now it's just coming down. Why? Why is it doing that? Well, I want to explain why it's doing that and why this is more bad news for ONDO. So I'm going to move over to this chart. And this is the same Bitstamp chart, except I'm looking at the monthly chart. And and as you can see, I have some drawings on this. And this is where I talk about wave theory again. Okay. So back, uh, if you go to like Coin Market Cap or a site that tracks, crypto coins, uh, Ondo apparently started trading on decentralized exchanges in 2022. And then for some reason, a lot of exchanges started, when I say exchanges, I mean centralized exchanges, not decentralized exchanges, started listing Ondo on their exchanges because, I guess they see the promise and everything. And on this is the earliest exchange that I could find that had listed it, and this was back in 2024. As you can see, Ondo started at about, I don't think it was about $1.43. It came down and hit about 55 cents, and then from there, it had a little bit of a one. It looked like a little splurt, and it came up to $2.13. Okay, so that's this area here. So from just this, 1, 2, 3, 4 month run, that was about 273% gain. And then since then, Ondo has been in a bear market. And this bear market started in December of 2024. So it's been over it's been over 1.5 years, right? And we're still on the 2 year mark. We're edging more to the 2 year mark. And what I'm here to tell you is, unfortunately, yeah, we're going down some more. So with wave theory, this is what wave theory is, and it's usually talked more about in day trading, scalping, maybe swing trading. Okay, and the theory is that when you enter in a long sustained run of a particular asset, it typically has 3 to 5 waves. So a wave would be considered like, okay, your stock is trending up, and I don't know why it's. Let me see if I can remove this, and I don't know why it's not going straight up, but let's see if I take my, okay, all right. So this would be considered, this trend up would be considered a wave, and then this trend, this line down would be considered a pause. And so I don't know why it's not drawing very good today, so I'll use more things, and we'll go here, and then let's see if I can just do that. Nope, I can't. Do that, and then we'll do this. Okay. Okay. So an example of a first stage wave is you have this line going up, that's wave one. Then you have this one line going down, which is pause one. And then you'd have the next leg of the wave, which is wave two. And then you would have it make a lower high. That would be pause two. And then you would have this other wave going up, and that would be wave three. And then the question is, does you get a pause, okay? However, if you're a day trader or scalper, the question is, okay, I've got 3 waves, 1, 2, 3. I've got 2 lower highs. Is there going to be a fourth or a fifth wave? And you don't know going in. So what they say in day trading and scalpel is, on the third wave, you take some profit. So for example, let's say you invested $300 into something, and you invested it right here. You ride this wave up, and then at this point, you will take a significant portion of that $300 out. So let's say it's about $200. Okay, so you've uh, uh, so so you take the $200. Well, I'm saying this wrong. Let me step back here. Okay, you were putting $100 here. By the time it gets over here, it's over $300 in profits. Okay, let's just say it's 500. You would take the $100 you initially invested, you would take that $100, you would take a of the 500, you'd probably take about $300 out of the stock, and you would leave the rest here. And if it does have a fourth or fifth raise, you would just ride it, because this is just money left over from the initial investment that you got. And when you see it, it's at a point that the wave is after the fifth wave, you for sure just take it all out, and therefore you have a profitable trade. Okay, so this is what we are talking about when we say wave theory. Okay, and how it works when a trader or a scalper is doing it. Now, the wave theory actually works on higher time frames, and it does explain, why certain things happen in stocks. It's just that we typically don't have the patience. Okay, this is a patience thing. We want to trade on the daily, we want to trade on the weekly chart. However, there are definitely signs where you can see this in a yearly chart or a 3-month chart, and so that's what we're having here with ONDO. Now, the reason why I did monthly is because it's a little bit easier to see on the monthly chart. I looked at the 3-month chart, and I'll show you what it looks like. It's not quite as seeable, and then on the 12-month, it's you're not really seeing anything there. So let's go back to the 1 month, the monthly. So what I'm saying is, after December 2024, you had the start of the bear market wave. Okay, so wave one goes all the way to about April 2025, and then you have your first pause, and this is where the price went sideways. Okay, and what I forgot to mention is there are 3 types of pauses. One pause is a sideways pause, and this is an example of a sideways pause. So the price fluctuates between these 2 points and then continues its run down. So in September 2025, after some sideways action of about, let's call it 4.5 months, okay, maybe 5. All right, it started going down again, and this was a very long wave. Okay, from September 25 to about March of 2026, it was all red candles, just going all the way down. And then we had the start of the second pause, which, from March 26th, 2026 to about April 2026. So less of a sideways action pause, but this was definitely a sideways action pause. And then you saw that little splurt up. And this was all part of the pause. Okay. This going sideways and then going up. Okay. This is just part of the pause. And so that's pause 2. And now in June, we have started the third wave. And I have this drawn with this line here. And the reason why I have it drawn this way is I have no idea where price is going to end up. And normally other traders would throw out a Fibonacci extension and say, "Oh, it's probably going to go here." I don't like making price predictions. The market is just going to do what the market does, and I don't know. Once it finishes as a bear market, what's its possible price uh, target is. Like I said, the market's just going to do what it is going to do. The reason why I don't like giving out price estimations is because then, especially if you're brand new to trading, because I fell in this myself when I first got into trading, is you'd watch a YouTube video and they would say, "Oh, Bitcoin's going to $500,000," and you keep on waiting for that $500,000, and then it ends up being $125,000, and it, 2 months later you figure, I don't think it's going back up. Okay, this is why I don't like giving price predictions. Okay, it's just more important to figure out what's going on in the chart and seeing if it's showing the signs of either going back down or going back up. Okay, so we are clearly, like I said, with Ondo, and uh, we are starting the third wave of its bear market price action. And what I don't know is, okay, are we going to have a fourth or fifth wave? And so uh, the next part I really want to move on is there anything that kind of gives us a guess if we're going to have a fourth and fifth wave? I'm going to call this guess very, you know, I'll use this term, weak sauce. Okay. Uh, there's not a firm foundation of the charts to guess if there's going to be a fourth and fifth wave. However, I will go over these weak sauce points, and maybe that will have us see where we end up. So before we talk about the weak sauce points, I do want to point out something here. We have support at Ondo about 24 cents. I do expect Ondo to blow past this 24 cents. The problem is I couldn't really find a chart that showed a previous bottom, so I do not know what support lies below here. Okay, um, I so keep in mind that because we don't have on this chart a lower price point, uh, in trading we call this. It's normally used when a an asset goes past it, makes a new all-time high. They call it price discovery. We are essentially going to be, I think, in the near future. I don't know when. Um, Going to be in price discovery for Ondo when it goes past this point. So what Ondo is probably going to do for the next couple months, and then we'll kind of go into the weak sauce points about whether or not we're going to have a third or fourth wave, is it's going to continue to head back down to this trend line, and it may get stuck there for a while, but I do think it's going to go lower. How much lower? Again, I don't know. It's just based on what I'm seeing in the charts and what I'm seeing with this bear market wave it's probably going to go lower. Okay. All right. So weak sauce point number one. This second wave was a very deep wave, and usually when you have a very deep wave like that, this the it usually is the second wave that's usually the deepest or the most profitable. So the good news is this third wave, I don't think is going to have as much downside as the second wave. And so the downside, based on when it started, it to give you an idea, it was about a minus 82% in value of Ondo destroyed. Okay, I don't expect that this wave going from here to below this trend line is going to reach the levels of minus 82%. Okay, I'm not going to give a guess at how much it is, but I'm just telling you that I just don't think it's going to be as destructive as a wave as this one. It could be. It's just based on past observations. It's usually not. I don't know. I can't give you a percentage or anything. So that's weak sauce hopium number one. Okay. If we go to this chart here and we bring up uh, the stochastic RSI, the RSI, and the money flow index. Okay. And I'm going to move this to the weekly chart. Okay. Uh, when we were doing that, just before we had that last pause, uh, Ondo had touched pretty much the lowest low it had been on the RSI, and it moved up to about 43%. Okay. So I can see the RSI probably coming down and touching that line again, or even if it doesn't touch, it's going to definitely come back to oversold. And the bottom line was sitting at about 26. I do see this line a very good possibility that it comes down and goes to 30 or below 30 again. Another thing we're seeing is that if you look at the stochastic RSI on the weekly, uh, it is going down. We're now sitting at 59. The blue line is now below the red line, and they're both going down, heading towards the 20. There's no look of a possible curve at the moment, and it is going down. Now, the money flow index was way oversold, and then you started seeing money kind of go into it, and this was one of the reasons why you started to see ONDO have this last pause. It never reached oversold. I'm sorry, it never reached overbought, which was at about 70. So this only went as high as 73 on the money flow index chart. This is another way to measure overbought, oversold, and it does it via volume and price action. And right now it is sitting at about 40, and I can see it looks flat, but I can see this money flow index going back down below oversold. Can't predict it, but it looks like that's probably what's going to happen. Okay. Now, if we go here to the ADX, as you can see on the weekly, the momentum fired up and the momentum went as high as 42. And since that high of the pause, it's been going down, and now we're sitting at 26. And just like what we're seeing on the stochastic RSI here, okay, instead of the stochastic RSI just kind of like going straight down, okay, you are seeing it more slowly retreat down. That's another sign that I don't think that this wave 3 is going to be as destructive. It lacks even though the momentum is definitely downward, it's definitely going down. It's not crashing down like falling off a cliff. It's kind of slowly going gradually down. Okay. So if you look at the other parts of the directional index, you can see that the buying is definitely going to cross on the weekly. It hasn't yet, but it's touching the selling of ONDO. You know, they're right on top of each other. That's the best way to put it. And I wouldn't be surprised that the buying continues to go below the selling, and you see the selling starting to rise, kind of like a situation like right here, where it kind of goes up, and then you get all this selling, and then you have the buying kind of spike a little bit below the red selling. Okay. However, they're very close together already. It's not, they're very close together. So what I think is that pretty much investors and traders are kind of wondering, you know, man, it just had this run up. They may have bought here, and they're kind of like, well, should I wait? Is it going to go back up? And now they're kind of unsure. So to finish this video, this is what I'm trying to say about ONDO. We are in wave 3 of a bear market trend. I do think ONDO is going to go lower. I do believe in the end, the wave 3 will bring price below this trend line. I don't think it's going to be much lower than this trend line. Okay. I don't have any price prediction to give, but based on what I'm seeing in the charts, the momentum, I don't think there's going to be a wave 4 and 5, but I cannot guarantee it. So if you are a trader in ONDO and you're looking for a long-term investment, my advice to you is save your money. And I do think that Ondo is a good coin to get into. And I think you should just wait. And if you already are invested in Ondo, I don't think this is a good time to sell. You are definitely near the bottom of the bull market, even though you're not at the exact bottom. It's sometimes very unrealistic to expect to be at the exact bottom. My advice to you is just if you have any more money you want to invest in Ondo, save it. Okay, the wait for this third wave to finish off, and we're not, you want to look the way you will see the wave finishing off is you're either going to see two things in the chart, and this is what you're going to want to look for, and you want to look for it on at least a weekly time frame. A month may be too far to look into it, but you want to see the price going sideways, or you want to see the price kind of have like this V shape recovery. Okay. All right. Those would be signs that maybe the those would be signs that wave 3 is over, and that would be a good point to get into Ondo. But again, there could be a fourth and a fifth wave. You just don't know. And but being a part of, and but here's the thing: if you invested here, and let's say the price comes down to about here, you're just going to be in profit faster by staying up here, and uh and leave it that. If you invested up here, it's up to you. I mean, you could sell your Rondo stock. Again, I'm just not. That's just not my style. But if it's yours and you really need to, you got to do what you got to do. But uh, but like I said, that's what you want to look for in the near future for Ondo. Okay, well that's all I have today. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Please remember, um, uh, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ yet, I really encourage you to try to start that relationship. Okay, uh, you know, read the book of Matthew in the Bible, and say the Lord's Prayer, and just really start trying to start that relationship. And I think it's well worth your time for everything. It's not just trading, investing. It's your relationship with everybody that you live with and everybody that's around you. So that's all I have. Have a great morning.